Welcome back. In our last video, we took off all the Holley EFI system and had it laid on the table, the Sniper system specifically. Got a new throttle body on the way from Holley. Their customer service is really great. Again, takes a little while to get with them, but when you do, they're awesome. I also have an RMA to send the other one back. But yesterday, box showed up from Summit. So, let's see what we got. It's an Aeromotive bypass fuel regulator, part number 13301. We'll talk about bypass and why that's important in this system in a little bit. It is closely related to this Walbro fuel pump, which is technically for throttle body injected engines, but it works great for this carbureted application because, there's the part number by the way, the fuel injection back in the day on throttle bodies, much lower pressure than multi-port and, for instance, the Sniper EFI, which self-regulates at the throttle body at about 55 psi, so the pump has to be higher than that. These actually make a maximum pressure of like 20 psi. Keeping in mind that's a restriction is what creates the pressure. So if it's unrestricted, it's only a few psi. And the carburetor that we ordered is a Summit carb. It's a variant of a Holley carburetor. Anyway, it's recommended maximum at 7 psi. So we have the regulator. Anyway, this is a Summit Series 600 CFM. Part number will be on your screen. It came highly recommended by someone who I trust knows what they're doing. The design about the bowls, there's no real place for it to leak. The entire lower half of the body is all one piece. And then the top plate is the cover for the entire carburetor. The floats hang from it. They have like a 1,000,000-mile warranty on their power valves. So anyway, this is an electric choke version of this 600 CFM Holley street carb. And it's perfect for our application. One thing I like about this coming from Summit, really nice instruction manual with photographs, legible, clear English, and this cool DVD. So, if you don't know anything about carburetors or carburetor tuning, this has it. So don't be scared about what to do. Really nice video explanation on how to tune a carburetor. Although these are pretty well dialed in for what you need as long as you choose the right carburetor right out of the box. Choosing the right carburetor, oddly, is also on this DVD, which I have a feeling by the time you have the DVD, it's too late. It's another item that we bought, which I think is super cool. This was again recommended by the guy who is providing this trick distributor that we've got on the way. This is from Revolution Electronics. This is their fuel pump controller. It's also like a safety switch. So they're about 65 bucks. You can get them from revolutionelectronics.com. I ordered mine on Amazon because we have Amazon Prime. I ended up getting it like in 2 days. So that's awesome. I think they're available on eBay as well. Anyway, this is the 12003. They make other modules to do other things as well. You can check their website. There's an awful lot of wires. Instead of using just your standard issue fuel pump relay, this performs that as well. It has a circuit breaker built in. What's neat about this, it primes the fuel pump for 3 seconds upon ignition voltage, and then it will only send voltage to the pump when it recognizes a tack signal that you wire to it, obviously. So if your engine ever stalls, fuel pump doesn't keep running. Also, just because your key's on, it doesn't keep the fuel pump running non-stop. So it really matches what like factory fuel injection would do as far as how the voltage goes to the pump, even though you're not using a fuel-controlled fuel injection system with a fuel controller built in. Let's see what we've done so far. Now, we already had the dash apart to remove the wiring harness and CDI for the Sniper EFI, which was in the last video. Before I put it all back together, I went to Revolution Electronics website to see the instruction manual on how it needs to be wired up. So I went ahead and pre-wired for it while I had everything apart. Now, it looks like an awful lot of wires, but everything's pretty logical. You're going to have your power source that goes in and out basically from the truck to the pump. You'll have a ground as per usual. You'll have a switched ignition source which tells the pump when you want it to run. And then that tack signal source, which I ran a new tack wire because we're going to have a new distributor. And that's pretty much it. Also, I want to make a note. I've installed this fuel pump already, and I ordered this part number installation kit from Summit, which is necessary because that pump doesn't come with any kind of hardware, whether it be mounting. Not even on the terminals does it have the nuts for the power and ground leads. So order that kit, and I installed it where the Sniper EFI fuel pump was. And I can tell you, this thing's whisper quiet. So I've got us right here at ground level where the fuel pump is mounted to the frame. My garage is concrete floor and no sound deadening whatsoever. So this is worst case scenario as far as how loud this pump should be. So I'm going to run some power to it and you can see if you can hear it at all. That was it. I thought you guys might want to see that. That's extremely impressive for an electric fuel pump. So yesterday I installed the carburetor, which was kind of a nice clean install. It allowed me to get rid of the old water neck that had ports in it for this temp sensor that the Holly needed. So now that's gone. Also, I'd like to point out that Summit provides this dual feed fuel line, so you just hook one line to it. Nice thick gasket, have explanations on how the vacuum ports work, so there's no guesswork as far as that goes. You can see I mounted the fuel pressure regulator over here against the firewall. I do have a gauge for it. I'm just waiting for an adapter fitting to come in from Amazon so I can install that on that front port. You'll notice it has a supply line going in your right side, and then the feed to the carburetor comes out the left, and the return line goes straight down out of the bottom. Now there's another port on the back side that I had to plug off. They do not mess around with plenty of ports on that Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator. So, since the fuel injection required a return line already, that was already ran. So I just had to hook it up to that regulator. We're going to have it set to where it runs about 7 psi. Now, like we spoke about, that pump maxes out at 20. Well, so this regulator will only slow it down enough to keep 7 psi pressure at the carburetor max. So we'll never be overworking a pump that maxes at 20 and is running at 7. So while we're talking about fuel pumps, why don't we make that our pro tip, number 16 this week. When you mount an electric fuel pump, put it as close to or in the tank if at all possible. Electric pumps want to be pushers, and the only way to do that is to be at the source. Also, mount it below the fuel level if at all possible. This way, it always stays primed. Running an electric pump dry will kill it. One of the things people don't understand about how fuel pumps work or fuel itself, it's actually a coolant in its own system. So by having fuel running through a pump, that's what keeps it from overheating. A good example would be how diesels work. Now that truck has what you call a lift pump. Now the lift pump's job is to just move fuel from the tank into the high pressure pump, also known as the injector pump. But it doesn't just move enough for it to inject into the engine, it moves enough also to keep the injector pump cool by using fuel from the tank. Anyway, thought you guys might like that. You're welcome, America. You just thought we were finished. Here's another pro tip for the day. I noticed whenever I opened up the fuel controller, the installation and the packaging, there's what's considered a T-tap in here for splicing into an existing wire on your truck. Do not use T-taps. Also, I don't even have one to show you as an example. Don't use Scotch locks either. If you're going to wire something, do it right, like I showed you in this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.